Welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. Thank you all for taking the time to join. As you know, the purpose of these Zoom meetings is to educate the public about kidney disease so that you can look after yourself better and also help your friends and colleagues learn about the kidney. And tonight we have the amazing honor of having one of the world's experts in kidney disease join us tonight. Her name is Dr. Nilu Nobakht. She's a health sciences associate professor at UCLA Medical Center, and her focus tonight will be to discuss lifestyle effects on the kidney, the heart, and metabolism. As some of you may know, the kidney doesn't function in its own isolated environment. There are interactions with the heart and the types of food you eat. And Dr. Nobakht is an expert on this, and she's kindly agreed to present to us tonight. So she'll present a number of slides, and after that, if you feel comfortable, please ask her questions. She'll address questions about her talk and also questions about your own individual problems as needed. So Dr. Nobakht, thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. It's a great pleasure and honor.
The pleasure is mine, Dr. Kurtz. Thanks much for having me tonight. I'm honored to speak on role of lifestyle on cardiovascular kidney metabolic syndrome, which it's called CKM. It's a new term, and I'll take you through the slide presentation for the next 35 minutes. So CKM will be the cardiovascular kidney metabolic syndrome, and I will go through definition and the stages of CKM problem, what's going on in the United States, role of lifestyle, how nutrition, our weight management, physical activity, our sleep quality, stress reduction, and all these advances in technology can impact this problem. So CKM, as you just mentioned, is a systemic health disorder that affects almost all organs in the body. It impacts our heart, name of cardiovascular disease, kidney, like CKD, chronic kidney disease, type 2 diabetes, and obesity. I brought you the synopsis of a graph that what is the CKM communication and connection among all these organs that we just discussed. A recent scientific statement from American Heart Association came to call this term as a new term so we can bring the attention of our patients and our doctors and our scientists to we have to watch out. We are dealing with a phase of emergency with increase of fat tissue, as you see here on top of this slide. Everything starts here. So we are going to get more of an excess adipose or fat tissue. Then we're going to have more of an inflammation, oxidative stress. The insulin will not work well. The sugar might go high. Blood pressure might go high. Might be pre-diabetic or diabetic, and this will be a package we call metabolic syndrome. When we have metabolic syndrome, the heart is not going to function well. We might be at risk for heart attack, and when heart is not working well, kidney doesn't like to work well. When we have high blood pressure, diabetes, as you see, they all signal each other and they talk. So this metabolic syndrome, it's going to cause problem for heart and kidney, and they both get impacted negatively. As of 2023, we have a novel staging from the same advisory that if you don't have any of these risk factors, your stage is 0, but that's less than 2% of the United States. The stage 1, when you start getting more of the fat cells in the places of the body that you shouldn't. The stage 2, you get metabolic panel impairment and some kidney problem maybe. Stage 3, you have this cardiovascular disease come on board when you have the CKM syndrome of both kidney and heart in the setting of all this problem. With or without kidney failure is higher stage, which is a stage 4. But when they looked into prevalence of this problem, between 2011 and 2020, the data just came out in JAMA in 2024, which about 90% of the country met the criteria. This is a very sad news. 15% met the criteria for advanced stage, and none of them improved between 2011 to 2020. So not only we didn't get better, but we got worse. And they found out that CKM affected more than 25% of US adults between 2015 and 2020. They informed us that 90% of United States is impacted with either stage 1 or higher. 80% are young adults. And this is a bad news, because if you started this problem between age 20 to 45, the chance of you get end organ damages later by 50 or 60 is much higher. It sounds men are more likely to have advanced CKM syndrome than women, and syndrome of what we just discussed did not get better after about 10 years or a decade of data collection. So it highlights the urgent need for public health intervention, understanding the burden and what's going on in the country and what can we do. Just about a month ago in January, 30 years US trend and mortality risk of CKM came out among men and women. It seems women have a slightly lower prevalence of CKM stage 3, but elevated mortality risk across the spectrum of multisystem 4G CKM dysfunction. What's going on as far as heart disease? So we have 1 in 20 adults age 20 and older, not age 40, not age 60, age 20 and older, have coronary artery disease. In the United States, someone has heart attack every 40 seconds. And every year we have about 805,000 people in the United States who have heart attack. What about diabetes? Diabetes is when you have the A1C more than 6.4, or on average you have your sugars in the morning more than 140 fasting. About 1 in every 10 people have diabetes, but 1 in 5, they don't know they have it. What about prediabetes? Prediabetes, it's not good because it's an A1C between 5.7 to 6.4, and it looks like 1 out of 3 have prediabetes. More than 8 in 10 adults with prediabetes, they don't know they have it. And when you look at the number of 1 in 3, then you pause and says, could it be me? Could it be you? But it's very, very common. And we all know for decades that abnormal glycemic or sugar panel can come up with end organ damages. Everywhere we have a small mini vasculatures, they get damaged with up and down of sugar, like brain, heart, eyes, kidneys, small vasculature everywhere in the body will be impacted by abnormal glycemic panel. And for years and years and decades, there were always a statement that you can prevent this if you eat healthy, if you be more active, if you lose weight. But it's easy to say sometimes that real practical things doing in the real world. What about kidney disease? We are all kidney specialists, and we know, unfortunately, 1 in 7 adults in the United States have chronic kidney disease, and more than 90% they don't know they have it. So every day, more than 360 people begin treatment for kidney failure with either dialysis or transplant. But this is the problem. This is the whole thing from the CKM starts. Look at our country. The color is getting red and more red and more red. The more red, the higher chance of obesity. And as of 2023, we have 1 in 5 adults in the United States who have obesity. Overall, Midwest is the highest, in the South, followed by West and Northeast. DC and Colorado are doing a decent job, but still, you have a lot of room to improve this body mass index. And majority of Americans are unfortunately either overweight or have obesity. Look at us here in 1962 and compares with now. Not only we did not improve, not only we didn't reach a plateau, but we just worsened from 13% to 42%. So this is the percentage of American over age 20 and who are overweight or have obesity. But didn't we know about all these things? Am I giving you something new? Not really. We all knew about weight. We all knew about blood pressure issue. We need to check the blood glucose and bring the cholesterol down, not to have heart attack or stroke or diabetes or kidney disease. But why, despite all this knowledge and for decades, our scientists working very hard, we have the best pharmaceutical company making the best type of medications, and we are advancing everything in the United States. Why we are not only doing better, but we are doing worse compared to a few decades ago is how we live, what we eat, how much we work, how much we walk, how much we rest, how much we drink, how much we manage our stress properly. I made this slide out of 13 photos. Many of them is taken in my house by myself. Some of them I used from the internet PowerPoint. But I want you to take a look at all this carefully, and I will go through the next 20 minutes of the slides about our lifestyle choices that can impact our CKM. And CKM is all about our end organ damages over years. And it's about our new life. How are we living? We are living, sitting at desk, working for hours. We're all stressed, tired. We're not eating very healthy meals on a regular basis. Most of us are eating the high calorie rich foods with sugar added soda. I didn't bring any specific brands to not to be against anyone, but as long as we are adding all this sugar added soda to our daily life with less physical activity, not moving, being stressed here and there, we're not going to improve. So our modern life brought us very good, technology and advances that made everything faster and better. But when it came to our metabolic health, no, we didn't do better. If Chaplin was around, maybe we could have told him the factories and all the outcomes taking the human to a bigger person who's not moving, who's stressed, watching at the screen, having a bag of high at sugar and perhaps fat and carb on the left side and added sugar drink on the right side. We have many of our next generation and kids sitting like this at their desk, and when they are talking to you, they don't even turn head. They're just watching their screen while eating their fast food, just talk to you as stuck to their screen. So to me and many other doctors, many scientists, and many health advisory, this is in a state of emergency because we don't want this 2 turn to 5 in 30 years and the whole country get red. In that case, we will not have enough dialysis chair for most of this end-stage kidney disease. We will not be able to manage all the diabetic patients with complications of heart, brain, eyes, and kidneys, and etc., etc. So it's better we jump onto our integration of lifestyle medicine to our CKM care. I'll start with nutrition and diet, and we go from there. But why nutrition first? Because food is joy of life. We know that. The science and emotion behind the eating is because the food stimulates the brain reward system. We love food. Food is tied to our memories, to emotion, the good time of childhood, brings the taste of the food mom made for us. We had happy time at that time. Social connection and togetherness might come with our food choices, the sense of pleasure, taste and texture, aroma, the nutrient effect of mood and mental well-being. They're all by food. And we shouldn't forget, many of us bring our background of culture and ritual things through our food. And we share this together. This is the type of food I made in my kitchen a few years ago as a form of DASH diet. And I share with my patients, and they love to use the same type of recipe for their choice. I already put some unhealthy type of food that we love and it tastes good and we know that we enjoy them, just to bring your attention that why food bring the joy. But what we eat impacts our wellness. I'm bringing your attention to the W because I want to take you to the wellness at the end of this presentation. I made all these photos in my kitchen, and I brought pomegranate because it's the symbol of antioxidant and anti-inflammatory fruits, but you can choose different types of berries, cherries, and nuts, citrus, olive oil, avocado oil, and walnut oil as plant-based source of the oil, rather the butter that we have been using for decades. But when it comes to nutrition, we as the kidney doctors are very careful about our patients' diet because many of them get restricted on some sorts of healthy meals like plant and fruit and vegetable because they can't have high potassium diet when the kidney function is about 25% or less. We're very careful about it, but I still monitor them closely if they are willing to be on these types of Mediterranean or DASH diet, and I help them with type of medication that can bring the potassium down so they can continue with a healthy lifestyle. The diet, which is called DASH, it's Mediterranean based. It's not just based on reduction of sodium or salt. It has several compounds in it, which I will go over. This diet shown to improve the blood pressure, cardiovascular, metabolic health, and kidney function. It helps to control your blood pressure, and also risk of fluid retention is less. So it's kind of good for both heart and kidney. It's good to know how it impacts the CKM. So it's lower salt, it has less sugar, lower fat meals, and more nutrient dense, such as nuts, legumes, and particularly the one in high fiber. Mineral nutrients such as potassium, calcium, and magnesium. Fat comes from nuts. Here I chose almond and walnut, but you can choose any types of nut you wish, like hazelnut, cashew, pistachio, etc. Whole grains and vegetable. You can have a lean proteins such as fish. And the bottom line is you need to have olive or olive oil, plant-based, citrus, anti-inflammatory. I added some mint and lemon perfused water as just a beverage to complete these types of meal as a recipe. But a statement on diet pattern for our patients came from National Kidney Foundation and our guideline back in 2020 that if someone has chronic kidney disease, increased fruit and vegetable may decrease the body weight, the blood pressure, and acid production. In general, body doesn't like to have high acid, and with kidney is now working well, so the acid goes high. So if you stay on more of a plant and vegetable, it's a chance you bring the acid lower. And Mediterranean diet that I just brought up to your attention is based on the DASH. It's shown that for chronic kidney disease patients, stage 1 to 5, but not the one on dialysis or post-transplant, can improve the lipid profile as well. So in general, it's a very helpful diet. But if you have kidney disease, a specific kidney problems, and you might Google your own condition and say, okay, let me see what the website for PKD Foundation or IgA Foundation or lupus patients with kidney disease recommends my diet to be. If I have diabetes, kidney disease, or if I have the CKM, which is a new term, what part of the diet I should change, or what should I eat or not eat? Each of these photos that I brought is from Google search, from lupus, IgA, and PKD patients. Bottom of all these bases is DASH, is plant and vegetable, less of salt, less of fat. If you're having the protein, lean fish protein, and watch the amount of nutrient that you might get per day and the calorie. Anti-inflammatory and antioxidant spices also recently are getting a lot of attraction and attention, specifically for patients who have more of an inflammation. But I want to bring your attention to protein because I myself am a great fan of protein. And as a kidney doctor, we are very careful about protein intake in our patients. But protein provides this building blocks that is essential to improve for our immune system, for our neurotransmitters of brain. Diverse metabolic roles it has, and it's a fuel for glucogenic or ketogenic pathways. It makes our muscle mass, which is very important factor for a healthy time when we are older. When we look into kidney guideline as of intake of protein, we are really restricted. So the recommendation comes if we have someone with advanced kidney disease, we shouldn't go more than 0.6 gram per kilogram of body weight per day for the protein. In adults with diabetes and chronic kidney disease not on dialysis, the prescription can be around 0.6 to 0.8, slightly higher than this population. But still, this is very limited. It's not going to allow you to have more than one piece of this much of salmon per day. So with kidney dysfunction, protein restriction is always on the table from providers' prescription, but where this came from. Should we revisit this suggestions or recommendations of protein restriction? I just want you to know the origin of this protein restriction in chronic kidney disease patients came very early 20th century from a team of researchers led by Thomas Addis that he showed if animal-fed high-protein diet given someone shows kidney hypertrophy being larger and accelerated disease progression and shortened lifespan of kidney. So that's about 100 years ago. And recent study of older adults, which they are taking higher animal or plant-based protein, showed mortality is lower in these patients with chronic kidney disease. And then they found that this association is stronger in those who do not have chronic kidney disease. So the benefits of protein may outweigh the downside in older adults or even the one who have mild CKD. So we need to be a little bit more careful about protein restriction. Did we get it wrong? We're not sure. If someone have advanced kidney disease, still protein place them in higher risk of faster decline of kidney function. But protein intake and mortality in older adults came out in JAMA about a year ago. And it was another piece in American Journal of Kidney Disease just in 2025 that bring our attention, maybe we should revise our recommendation on protein and kidney disease. So if someone is old and it doesn't have like advanced kidney disease, I might be more liberal to their protein intake, specifically plant-based protein. But what about anti-inflammatory food? The spices are getting a lot of attention these days, and we know that some of them have anti-inflammatory properties that may benefit some people with metabolic syndrome. Turmeric is one of them, and it's getting a lot of positive comments when it comes to inflammation. The other one is cinnamon. A group of researchers here at UCLA published a nice study that showed the participant who had abnormal glycemic panel and they were obese. When they started having the 4 gram of cinnamon per day compared to group that did not get this cinnamon per day, had a better glycemic panel control, and they monitored this glucose with continuous glucose monitoring 24/7. So cinnamon, which is a widely available and low-cost supplement, may contribute to a better sugar or glucose control when added to the diet in people who have obesity-related prediabetes or abnormal glycemic panel. Next thing is water, and this W of our wellness is a significant role. Most of us are staying dehydrated throughout the day, and we know that. We really need good amount of water, and we're not drinking enough water. It's a very familiar saying that 8 glasses a day, it's a good amount of water. But as a kidney doctor, I don't recommend the same amount for each single person that I see. It might be different for different patients, population, based on their age, muscle mass, medical condition, advanced or mild kidney disease, advanced or mild heart disease. So you need to check your amount of water with your doctor. But in general, for healthy people, 9 cups for women and 13 cups for men is recommended per Medical Association for daily intake. If someone is pregnant, might need about 10 cups, and for breastfeeding women, it goes high to 13 cups per day. Here I made some infused water with anti-inflammatory type of citrus, lemon, lime, and mint. Instead of purchasing expensive flavored water in the grocery store, you can easily make your own at home. Try adding some favorite fruit to a glass of pitcher of water, leave it in the fridge, stay overnight. In the morning, you have a very fresh, cold, good flavor, good taste types of water that you can carry in your thermos throughout the day at work. You can add the sliced citrus fruits or zest of lemon, orange, grapefruit, crush fresh mint, the sliced fresh ginger, or crushed berries. They all have anti-inflammatory and antioxidative properties. Caffeine. It's a great topic to talk about. We love caffeine. Many of us love caffeine. And I always get question on caffeine intake for my patient with polycystic kidney disease. It's good to know that caffeine is found in many drinks. It's not just coffee. You can have it in tea, soft drink, energy drink, chocolate, and it can stimulate the brain. It keeps us, more fresh. It stimulates the nervous system. It brings the sympathetic system slightly higher. But we need to know it can impact our sleep quality. It can impact our blood pressure temporarily. It can impact our heart rate or rhythm if we have cardiac dysrhythmia. So we need to be slightly more careful if we have kidney problem like polycystic kidney disease. There are some data or studies behind the caffeine can impact the cyst growth in this population. And you need to be careful if you have cardiac dysrhythmia. So it's better not to go high concentrated caffeine. Alcohol is a big topic to discuss, of course, but in relation to metabolic syndrome, I just want to bring your attention to each gram of alcohol can give us about 7 calories, while each gram of protein or carbohydrate gives us just 4. And each gram of fat, it gives us about 9 calories. So alcohol is kind of close to fat calories. It's a very high calorie types of beverage. And studies shows that the heavy alcohol drinkers are more susceptible to be obese or having metabolic syndrome problem than non-drinker. And meta-analysis kind of showed that each additional drink per day can increase risk of obesity by 11%. When it comes to our metabolic and CKM, we know the association between alcohol consumption and obesity is stronger in women than men. And heavy episodic drinking, which is called binge, is associated with increased risk of obesity, more than just regular small amount of drink. And the relationship between alcohol consumption and obesity, it might vary up to our age, ethnicity, background, overall health, and etc. But these are all aside from the recent advisory came from general surgeon of alcohol carry the risk of cancer or carcinogenic, no matter how much or how many drinks per day we have. So that's a different types of advice. This is just for metabolic syndrome. So alcohol and CKM, in the past, we were on assumption if a glass of wine, a red wine with DASH diet has some support from cardiovascular team. As of 2014 or 2015, we had those recommendations kind of on a shaky side that we are not sure to recommend alcohol or not. But recent data that came in JAMA suggested that habitual alcohol intake also can have risk of cardiovascular disease, and at any level is linked to an increased risk of CVD. So now I'm moving to physical activity and exercise and their positive impact on our CKM care. Here is me and my 5-pound weight. This photo taken back in COVID. I just upgraded this 5 to 15, but honestly, we all need to have some activity on daily basis. Physical inactivity is the modifiable risk factor for CKM. Many of our next generation kids sitting at home, not moving much. They are not having the same lifestyle as we had like decades ago. So we need to educate our next generation on this super important factor for avoidance of future mortality and morbidity due to heart disease, kidney disease, obesity, and diabetes. But aside from CKM, regular physical activity help your bone and joints, help your bone density, avoid your osteoporosis, help with your cancer risk is going to be less. It helps your mood, anxiety, depression, and sleep quality. I want you to know about one term when I speak on exercise, and that's sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is age-related syndrome which you lose muscle mass gradually. And if the sarcopenia is associated with increased body fat while you're losing the muscle mass, it's a sarcopenic obesity. This is the worst can happen to us, because in that case, we're going to have increased abdominal fat, we're going to lose our muscle, we're going to have more of an insulin resistance, we might have more of an inflammation process, and that can be related to our future mortality, and that's not what we want. Here, I want to show you an 85-year-old person who started having exercise at age 60, the one who had muscle mass, which is red part, compared to the one who does not have much muscle mass, has a sedentary lifestyle, and this yellow part is more of a fat and less of a muscle. Look at the years and the muscle mass and how it can affect their and mortality risk. It's very important to know how is your muscle to fat ratio, and I will tell you how. So one more round, I'm going to point out exercise can factor inflammatory markers. I will not go through this detail of this slide. It's just a summary that how all this profile that can impact your health negatively via insulin resistance, increasing inflammation, oxidative stress can be negatively impacted by physical inactivity. But I just spoke to you about protein a few slides ago. Here in exercise, if you do have resistance exercise, there's a chance you're helping your muscle mass. And if you don't have the chronic kidney disease, you should be able to get the protein intake of 1.2 to 1.7 gram per kg for making a good muscle mass while you're exercising or doing some resistance. It helps the ratio of muscle to fat, and it helps the decreasing of CKM. So if you don't have CKD, you can have higher level of protein, preferably plant-based protein. But what about next strategy is our weight. No matter how much you eat or how much you exercise you do, the weight needs to be monitored carefully, because in the past we were measuring obesity with just a solo number. We were going on a scale, we had just one number, and that was our weight. And researchers were using an index called body mass index as the indicator of our weight for health result. But is the BMI a good indicator? I will go over the slides of BMI and other indicators for your weight. BMI is your weight per kilo divided to your height per meter square. And if you're standing between 19 to 25, you're normal. Between 25 and 30, it's overweight. Between 30 to 40 is obese, and more than 40, we usually recommend surgery for these patients. And we all know that weight loss can reduce the risk of high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, and CKM. But it's very important to know what type of the weight. Is it total body weight, or fat weight, or muscle weight, or what? That's why new indicator, which is called waist circumference or waist to height ratio, are better than BMI. BMI is not a good indicator because it does not show the difference between muscle mass and fat. A person with high muscle mass, like an athlete, has a very high BMI, but that person has a low body fat, and we don't call it obese. Just the number, it does not place him at that risk. We need to know how much muscle to fat ratio is there. That's the indicator of overall health. That's why we need to go through other types of scale, that regular scale we have. These scales are very common, is available everywhere. You can find it like in the stores, online, Amazon, everywhere. And it's not very costly. It used to be $30 or $45 at the best, but now you can get it for $20, or you get one and get the other one for free. I always get one of them as a gift or present where I go to a birthday and I explain to people what is this, and they look at me with just a question, what is the muscle mass? And then they learn and they will love it. So it's called BIA scale, or bioelectrical impedance analysis. This scale measures muscle mass and body fat percentage. So it works in a way that a small electrical current through your body to estimate your body composition. It allows you to see both your muscle mass and the percentage on this scale. It's going to show you several other part of the body too, like your water, protein, mineral, your bone, and fat. So it's very helpful to know what's going on in the body. For example, 3 years ago, you're 150 pound and you had like 30% of muscle. Now you are 148 pound, so you think you're less and you're happy, but you lost the muscle weight. So that's not a good weight loss. It's very important to know what part of the body is part of the weight loss. Is it your fat? Is it the water? Or is it the muscle? If it's the muscle, that's not good. But why we all have to go to this BIA scales? Because it's convenient, it's fast, it's not invasive. It measures more than just the weight. It tracks your hydration and fluid balance. It can support your metabolic health management. It provides insight to your basal metabolic rate. I use it and I'm very happy, and I know many of my patients are using it. And when they come to me, they show me their muscle to fat ratio, and I know what to do for the next step of, for example, protein restriction in patients with CKD. And it also helps preventing the metabolic and cardiovascular disease that we are talking about today, and that's CKM. Be very careful about weight loss. The weight loss, if it's not a fat loss and it's the muscle loss, it's not helpful. Weight loss through a combination of diet and exercise is healthy. It reduces the hypertension, cardiovascular, and improve kidney function and lower CKM. We have several million of people on new weight loss medication, which is very attractive, very pricey, weekly injections, and they're all happy with it. We don't know if it's all is real fat loss or they are losing mass of the muscle too, which we need more of a data and research to answer the question and fill in our knowledge gap. So the next one will be the sleep. The sleep is very, very important. I can talk about sleep for several hours, but for the purpose of this talk, I just want you to know our sleep has two stages: REM and non-REM. REM is the part you get more of an activation of like the dream, and non-REM is where your brain goes to slow wave motion and it goes through restoration of data. So non-REM also is called downstage. I want you to know the main brain hormones in this stage of sleep is dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin. These are the mainstay of anxiety and depression drugs. And if we have a brain with a good balance of these brain hormones, we will not go through all those problems that the modern life human is going through. So every night, human brain produces thousands of down states and spindle through this non-REM sleep. And the purpose of this non-REM sleep is restoration. The data saving process time. It's the time that we're going to form the good long-term memory. It's the time that our cortex communicate with the other area of brain. And the more number of awakening throughout the night, the worse, because it's going to impact this stage, which is SWS, and it makes our quality of sleep impaired. But what about the REM? REM is the rapid eye movement stage, and it's absolutely different than the other stage. There's a different neurotransmitter for this stage. It's called acetylcholine. This is the step of sleep that we are having our dreams. It helps our new ideas, the discoveries, creativities, and it creates association between memories and data in the brain. So in the morning, we have more REM. Early at night, we have more of a non-REM. So it's better to have a good night's sleep rather like 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. That 8 hours is not going to give you the same brain restoration if you go tonight 10 to 11 p.m. to 6 to 7 a.m. And that's the reason. So we spoke about non-REM, and now you know you have this stage that you need to do early night and preferably with less interruption at night. We're going to have a better quality of sleep with SWS. And as we get older, we're going to lose this step and we're going to have less of a non-REM, unfortunately. That's why elderly have less of a good quality sleep, despite the fact they might be in the bed for 8 or 10 hours. One more thing, it's sleep, it's going to impact our brain nervous system, which we call autonomic nervous system. This autonomic nervous system has two parts, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic is where we are more excited with higher blood pressure, higher heart rate. We are more awake and ready to defend. Parasympathetic is when we are relaxed, we have a less problem of heart rate and blood pressure, and that's why most of the yoga and meditation and deep breathing technique takes us to that parasympathetic of ANS. So the less sympathetic and the more parasympathetic, the better for our relaxation technique. So there are many different types of strategies that wants to bring the parasympathetic as higher level, and yoga is one of them, acupuncture or relaxation technique is the other one. So in general, the more of sympathetic nervous activity to be overactive, the more heart disease and cardiac disease. So people who work from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and they are going through a lot of stress, despite the fact they're not eating, they're skinny, but they still get heart attack. Obviously, the higher level of SNA, the worse outcome, and it impacts our morbidity and mortality, and that's independent effect of their increasing of blood pressure. As you see how heart and kidney and brain, they're all talking, despite the fact geographically they are very far away, but they're signaling each other, and at all time they are communicating. And when we get more of an inflammatory process, higher fat, obesity, all these things that is not good for body, like inflammation, smoking with oxidative stress, they all impact all these three main organs. And at the same time, we are dealing with higher negative impact of CKM. But how sleep quality and the duration can be impacted, this SNS or sympathetic nervous activity, no matter what, if we have a like 6 hours or 7 hours of sleep duration, if the SWS or non-REM is impacted, we might not have a good autonomic nervous system. And that's going to get impacted by aging, some medication, alcohol consumption, specifically later at night, mood changes, circadian rhythm, and at the end, the SWS or non-REM decline across lifespan, and it's not much we can do about it. So stress reduction to improve our sleep quality is very important and is the key. If you have your relaxation technique like early evening or later afternoon, or your walk during the day, you're going to have a better night's sleep that night. So that implements stress technique to your sleep quality. And the meditation, mindfulness, deep breathing exercise, which is recommended these days 3 to 4 times a day, and you can have it your watch to alert you, it's going to impact and it's going to help your quality of sleep. Aim for 7 to 9 hours for restful sleep per night to support this metabolic and cardiovascular health. So now we are getting to chronic stress. We spoke about what we eat, what we drink, our physical activity, our weight, and now we are on stress. And we know the chronic stress is a very good contributor to the CKM. It's going to impact our hormonal, inflammation, high blood pressure, insulin resistance. Obesity is going to activate our sympathetic nervous system, etc., etc. And some inflammatory markers can go higher with chronic stress. But how many of us have this mindful and meditation on daily basis? Not many of us go to a beautiful peace and quiet place to have some me time and do our practices of deep breathing, or just 5 minutes of some beautiful pieces of music that can impact our blood pressure or cortisol level and autonomic balance. So meditation, deep relaxation technique, some specific pieces of music, specifically from classical, can impact your blood pressure, cortisol level, and autonomic function. Music is a very big topic for me, and we know that it has great health benefits. When it comes to music and medicine, we know music has been part of the human life since prehistoric era. It may lower our stress, it can help our blood pressure, in some cases inflammation. There are several studies on different patient population which has been exposed to different genre of music, and we have many positive responses in patients with mental problem, neurology, psychiatry, mood problem, as far as patients with cancer, heart disease, and lung disease, and patients who are going under surgery. There are studies that shows positive impact of music. In addition of this pharmacological conventional treatment out there, music definitely can play a complementary role to improve our quality of life. And if we know about the pieces that can help our mood and sleep quality, blood pressure, heart rate, it's better to use it on a daily basis. Now I want to bring your attention for the last few slides for some of these advances in technology that you might need to have them at home, and it's super helpful, like home blood pressure device or home blood glucose device. If you have home blood pressure device, the advantages, you can have a better blood pressure control, much better than checking at doctor's office. These two are doctor's office blood pressure machine. I don't trust them. Not that they are not good machine. They are good machine. But when we check your blood pressure is not accurate because you've been walking, you have been paying for parking, you're stressed, you've been in traffic, you have not been sitting quiet 15 minutes with no stress. At the highest level of stress, we check our patient's blood pressure, and maybe that's not the best number to judge. But when you're home, we like to know about your home blood pressure. So always check your blood pressure during different times of the day. Make a log for yourself, either write it down or use the technology that these machines communicate with your smartphone, and keep your log to see how are you doing blood pressure wise, because this definitely can reduce the risk of heart problem, kidney problem, and CKM risk in general. It supports your lifestyle and dietary modifications too. For example, you were thinking this piece of olive is salty, but you take it, you washed it with water, and you eat that olives, and you check the blood pressure 3 hours later is good. That means you can have it. You don't have to restrict yourself on some of the diet that you were on assumption it's not good for you, and vice versa. This is the technique of a blood pressure accuracy. So you need to be sitting, feet on the floor, arm on the desk with the support. Use the cuff around the arm, not the wrist, and make sure you've not been eating, drinking, smoking, talking, and bladder should be empty. And then you can check your blood pressure. Blood glucose measurement is very important for people who have some glycemic problem, or they are pre-diabetic, and definitely diabetic patients. In the past, we were using just finger stick that was measuring our blood sugar just by pricking the fingertip and using test strip, but was just showing the sugar that you had right there, but was not giving you the continuous measure of the numbers you had. But when you use the continuous glucose monitoring device, it's very valuable because the early detection of blood sugar can be detected with this machine. You can personalize the nutrition and diet optimization with this machine. You can optimize the athletic performance and what you need to do. For example, you can have a box of orange juice or some bite of chocolate or ice cream if you like. And then you walk on hill and you see, wow, your blood sugar didn't go up. So this helps you to adjust the diet and optimize your performance. And at the same time, it helps with your CKM health protection. So use continuous glucose monitoring. The insurances are paying for most of patients with diabetes and even with pre-diabetes these days. So this is the slide that I made for you earlier. And on the right side, I have a rule of W to wellness. It's about all we talked about today: what to eat, what to drink, your water intake, your daily walk, your weight management, wake and sleep hours, worry and stress management. If you listen to Waltz, the reason I put Waltz because it has a W. You can have any piece of music that helps you to feel better. And at the end, this rule of W to wellness is the practicing of habit on daily basis on a regular, and is your own self responsibility for the choices and behavior that you made. But keep that in mind, that your lifestyle choice is your state of health and avoidance of CKM for next generations in future, and a healthier land I always recommend this W2 Wellness to my patients to do it gradually. I say change, it's successful if it's gradually. You need to have micro goals and you need to reward your success because if it doesn't bring you the joy, it's not sustainable. Thank you very much for uh, having me today, Dr. Kurtz. I can take any questions.
Yeah, I can ask you, doctor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. There are about 3, 4 tests at least that you take on an annual basis to monitor your kidney function and so on. One of them is the EGFR, the microalbumin creatine ratios, the
Yes.
band, and so on. If you want to monitor the function, which one would be the best test to monitor to see the trend?
For a patient with diabetes, the best marker is both creatinine and urine albumin excretion. People who have better A1C control, they will have a decrease in their protein or albumin excretion, which is one of the mainstay of pathology behind the diabetes kidney disease. But if someone does not have diabetes and have chronic kidney disease with other issues like hypertension, etc., that they are not spilling protein in the urine, we have creatinine, EGFR. But if your muscle mass changes throughout these times, it's better to have another test that nephrologists these days are using a lot, and name is cystatin C, and you can graph both together and trend them together. If creatinine is changing a lot and cystatin C is not much, then perhaps it's the change of your weight, your diet, protein intake, some medication, supplement, etc.
Where are you putting more weight on a creatine test or the EGFR test?
Both. If someone is older than 65, it's better to trend them because
Correct.
creatinine itself at one point might be in normal range, but it might brings you to an EGFR which is lower than what it's called normal, and it's MDRD, and that's just estimate. But if you have a creatinine normal for years, it's still without change, then it's not worrisome. But always confirm if the EGFR is low, if it's a true low or it's not his estimate.
It goes lower, the EGFR with age. I heard someone told me that it goes lower as you age, the EGFR.
Yes.
It's normal then if it goes low. No?
It's not normal. We are aging. It's like graying our hair.
Okay.
But yeah, we're going to lose EGFR. We are going to lose lung capacity, like 1 ml per year. For each year, we go higher than 60 or 65.
And you
Sometimes.
can't do anything about it?
I
No.
think it's about the nature. But yes, you still can help your end organs with we just discussed eating healthy, making a good muscle mass, avoidance of all the unhealthy practices. Many people are 90 plus and they have a very good stamina and healthy body when you talk to them. And their secret, based on my understanding, is they are walking 1 or 2 or 3 miles a day. They're drinking water, more plant-based, and less stress.
Do fluids are only good if you drink water? What if you replenish it with coffee filter instead of water? The amount of water you need, the fluids.
Any fluid is fluid, but coffee has a different brain stimuli in it, and it might impact your heart rate, blood pressure, or even sleep.
But for fluid
For fluid is fluid.
replenishment is okay.
It's better to be water.
It's better ideally, yeah. But if somebody doesn't drink water, hate water, I don't for some reasons, I don't know.
Then infused water with all the antioxidant types of fruits and vegetable, I recommend that helps too. Like crushed berries, crushed ginger, some citrus, some lemon, some cucumbers to make a different flavor that might be your favorite taste, so you can drink a better type of beverage.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Thank you, Dr. Nobakht, for an absolutely wonderful talk and for all your passion in trying to keep all your patients so healthy, including all of us. So deeply
I hope.
appreciated. I have a question about the CKM. you mentioned that there's a lower incidence, I think, in women, but they have a higher mortality. Did you mention
Mortality
that?
risk, yes.
I mean, women
If they
tend to
get
go
the
to the doctors more in general. Men tend not to want to be with, even male MDs don't want to go to doctors.
data just reported back in January 2025. I'm getting more of a detail of it. It could be due to different phases of life and hormonal status. Perhaps most of women get more of a heart or cardiovascular disease after they lose estrogen. There is a chance that play a role when they are doing the statistic analysis at the same time for men and women at the same age. So if they do the subgroup analysis, we can get more data if it's related to hormonal status or no, it's because biologically they have a different types of body composite. Muscle mass also make a role.
And one thing a lot of patients say, I mean, you mentioned such beautiful and widely informative information. How does one do this throughout the entire day without becoming a robot almost? I mean, patients, would have to keep logs and would have
Yeah.
to watch all these multiple details.
It
It's hard for
will be,
people, especially in their 70s.
it will be part of a routine. You don't have to do it several times a day. When you have a CGM or continuous glucose monitoring, it's already like a patch and it communicates with the phone. So the person who has diabetes can take a look a few times a day on the screen of the phone to see what's going on. If it's too high or too low, the good thing about this devices is it start beeping, so alerts the person. That's a lifesaver. But as long as someone who's busy and doing all these things, that's why I created the rule of W. And if you can do all W's in one day, it's better to be part of the daily habit and regular of the life. But it's late kind of for us. We need to educate our elementary school kids about this. To get this, we're talking about
they
CKM
need
in
you as
30 years.
they need you as a teacher.
In 30 years. But
You also mentioned the data for the US. Is the US unique with all these issues, or is this true of most
US
countries?
has a higher level of research and data available. I believe the US problem is type of the food, portion of the meals. When you travel throughout the world, you see the plates are way different than the size of plates in the United States. One of the reason we are bigger, we have higher calorie at higher portion. Also, type of the Western diet is more of a fat and animal protein take than like vegetable, and many of people don't like the vegetable and spices and all the things that I always ask out of my curiosity. The chance of a person from another country goes easier with spices and less of an animal red meat, and this is higher than a typical Western diet and US people. And that's how they expose from childhood. They love the cola, they don't like the water. Water is not very familiar for them as a daily regular. One of the reasons Colorado is staying the skinniest state among all the states in the United States is the outdoor activity and water. Everyone has bottled water or thermos water. That's a habit. No matter if you're in nephrology division, University of Colorado, or you are at the Starbucks, or you're at the ski resort, everyone has bottled water or thermos water. That's a habit in Colorado, and everyone is biking or hiking or skiing.
Very interesting.
Yeah, like Vancouver, the same stuff.
So how do you balance sarcopenia by not taking a protein? How do you avoid sarcopenia?
Taking protein.
I'm sorry?
The advice is you are taking protein. We're not advising against protein intake. We recommend 1.2 to 1.7 gram per kilo for a 72 kilo adult. You can get even to 70, 80 gram a day of protein. It's a lot of food. It's a lot of protein. And you can balance between animal and plant-based. Like if you get 2 tablespoons of nut butter, almond butter, creamy ones at Trader Joe's. Each spoon has 7 grams of protein in it, and it's all plant, and it's a good fat. But if someone has CKD or chronic kidney disease, we need to cut this down to kind of half, like 0.6 to 0.8, specifically if someone has diabetes and CKD. But if someone has advanced CKD, then we are very more careful. After initiation of dialysis, they can go higher on protein intake and make sure they make a good muscle mass. But muscle mass comes with resistance exercise too.
advanced kidney disease is determined by eGFR less than 30 or something like that, 30, 15.
Advanced CKD is like stage 4 and 5. Stage 5 is eGFR less than 15.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, you need kidney transplant at that point, huh?
In cases that they can be evaluated, usually, yes.
In previous kidney lectures, it was recommended you only drink if you're thirsty, as opposed to drinking the 13 cups a day, which sounds like a lot. And
Yeah.
especially given BPH, I think the
Yes.
medications are trying to take the water out of you.
Yes.
How do you
For a healthy adult man, 72 kilo, healthy with no medical condition, 13 cups. For people with kidney disease, heart condition, it will be much less and will be based on their doctor recommendations. But if they are on diuretic or some medication that they have to get rid of water, they are more restricted on fluid intake, and that comes case by case per their doctor's recommendations.
Oh, you recommended, you said something about cinnamon. Is that like a pill or is that just sprinkling cinnamon?
The cinnamon is the cinnamon stick or the powder. The one that has been tried in the study was 4 grams per day and it was powder.
Any other questions for Dr. Nobakht? I think most of us have not heard such a beautiful lecture in a long time, so
That's
just
Dr.
too much information for most people.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kurtz, for having me today.
Yeah, thank you. If there are no more questions, thanks everybody for joining. Thanks, Dr. Nobakht, for taking the time.
Bye.
Is liposuction an easy fix?
Did you hear that question, Dr. Nobakht?
She disconnected.
I think she disconnected. Yeah. My recommendation would not be to do that for an easy fix. I think the approach should be to do the lifestyle changes that she recommends. And
you need a structural change, and liposuction will not do the job. You need a structural change, which is the loss of weight, a healthy habit. That's the only way to do it. Liposuction is a short-term solution. It's not going to do the job.
And what you're trying to do with all of this is not you're improving all your organs, as she alluded to. You're trying to help your brain, your heart, your kidney, and those are only all the organs benefit from all these things that she recommended. The problem is being able to do them. I mean, the human brain seeks pleasure all the time, and a lot of these things are not creating the kind of pleasure that people seek.
It takes discipline. That's the most important discipline. It
takes a ton of discipline. And also these are long-term, not short-term goals, and people tend to go for the short-term benefits. And, that's why people don't stop smoking, because the smoking benefit might be years and years and years away. So it's just the way our brains are constructed. A lot of these things just take tons of discipline. You have to have this long-term goal that you're trying to achieve. And there's multiple things that you have to do. It's, as she mentioned, it's complicated for most people.
Yeah. And you always have to watch the trend too. And people see the numbers. The doctor, the thing between the relationship between the doctor and patient that I always observe. A patient leaves the office with just one number. Oh yeah, you're okay. And that's they think they're okay. But in my opinion, a patient has the responsibility to look the past, the present, and the future, and keep trends and see how all the numbers work for them.
Yes, it's a continuum. It's not just this. It's a movie. It's a as you're alluding to. It's not a snapshot picture in the doctor's office. There's a past, present, and future, and they all affect each other. Yeah. But most patients don't have that kind of approach.
I would recommend. I mean, most of the hospitals have the chart. Okay, when you have the chart, every hospital has a chart that you can log in and see your past history and you see your trends. I'm sure most people do that. I don't know if you know that, but
yeah, you trend your lab results
and go there and look at those numbers and see what's going on and follow that stuff. And
no, the key is, as you say, to follow the trends. But I would say most people don't do that.
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah, they're not
9 out
over.
of 10. 9 out of 10.
Yeah, no, the trends as you allude to is everything. And
Yeah.
those are the only things we're measuring. There's umpteen things that we're not measuring that are also trending that we are unaware of. And you only see the effect later on when the trend led to something that you weren't even aware of. So the lab tests only are measuring finite, specific things, but
Mhm.
we're not measuring the thousands and thousands of um, analytes and chemicals that we could be trending. We just don't have the ability to do that.
Yeah. Are you a doctor yourself?
Oh yes, yeah. I'm head of kidney disease at UCLA.
Oh, you're the head of the department?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I didn't know that. I came late, so I
Yeah,
didn't.
no. Your questions are wonderful. No, Dr. Nobakht is one of the faculty at UCLA. She's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. A friend of mine, long time ago, had a transplant over there in the UCLA. It's one of the best hospitals for transplantation, for transplant kidney transplants. If I remember that, it was actually he did it twice, 2 times.
So,
Horrible stuff.
I see. Well, you seem to be very informed in your
Oh
questions.
yeah, I like medicine. Medicine is my hobby.
Your questions are wonderful. So they were very helpful, I'm sure, to other people who were listening.
I have a question too. I came late also, had something else going on, like a flood in my kitchen. Okay. Had the plumber. So what is the deal with cinnamon and how much?
Yeah, this is new to me. I wasn't familiar with it before she said it, so I would have to look that up. I'm not familiar with it. If you,
Oh,
yeah, it's something new to me. I have
oh,
I haven't heard of that before. I'd have
that it helps her kidney. Yeah, yeah.
I'd,
Okay.
I'd have
You
to
don't
look it
know.
up myself. I don't know.
You don't know what she was referring to.
No. That was a new study she was referring to.
Okay. Okay. I want to say I'm kind of anxious. My husband, and we've spoken before, Mario, his right kidney is hydronephrotic and it's so enlarged. And he was in and out of the local hospital, Los Robles, and they're sending him to UCLA to have his kidney taken out because he was holding 3.6 liters of urine in his right nephrotic kidney. And he's 82 though. So he's at March 21st, Dr. Chin is going to remove that with his ureter. How concerned should we be at age, he's at age 82 or
Well, I don't know all this. I mean, I never give advice like that, over a meeting.
over Zoom, but I'm
I don't
anxious.
I don't know all his numbers or medical conditions, so anything I say would be inaccurate.
Okay, but
You
I am,
know, in general, age does, affect the outcome. But I think, if the doctors feel comfortable doing it, and there's more than one doctor that feels comfortable doing it, I wouldn't be
okay, good.
too anxious. But again, that's very general thought. It's not anything specific.
And you're not talking specifically about my husband, but yeah, Dr.
I
Chin.
don't have access to his chart or data.
Got it, got it, got it.
So it's hard to be very specific. But in general, if they decided to take out the kidney, there's got to be a very good reason for that.
Yeah, was holding so much fluid and he kept getting UTIs and yeah, from it. And he's a very good doctor. Dr. Chin is the head urologist at Clark. So
I see.
yeah. Oh,
Well,
you don't.
good luck.
I thought nephrologist and urologist knew each other because they're so closely related, but no.
Some of them do.
Some of them do, you don't. Okay. All righty.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
I'm not sure that was too helpful, but
no, but at least you spoke with me. I mean, at least, if the doctors felt it was necessary.
yeah, I think I would just I wouldn't have too much anxiety. They're not going to, I mean, it's one of our approaches to patients that all doctors hopefully will follow is do no harm. So I'm sure if they decided to do this, they have a very good medical reason, and
Yeah, they do.
doing it is going to be more helpful than not
doing it. Yeah, yeah. He
So
has to do
it's
it.
obviously weighing the pros and cons of.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Um, and weight loss, and well, he's lost weight from being sick, but I mean, that really affects your blood pressure.
Well,
right?
weight loss, everyone should be at their basal metabolic. We should all be at our BMI. I mean, we should all be at our ideal weight. I mean, that is just a matter of self-control and exercise.
Right. And
That determines, how healthy
oh,
your
okay.
and
And
your
that,
blood and your body's going to be in general, your skeleton, your ability to withstand any stresses that occur in life. I mean, that keeping at your ideal weight is one of the most important things a human being can do.
oh, okay.
It's something that should be a goal for the entire population.
It's like 2/3 of the people are really overweight, though, huh?
Yes, people eat too much. They
Yeah,
choose.
BMI tends to be out of style, the way I see it.
Well, the problem with it is it doesn't distinguish fat from muscle.
Yeah,
Right.
I understand. So she
Um,
said, get that BIA
So
scale.
you need to distinguish those two. For instance, Ozempic and all these new weight loss drugs, part of the weight loss is losing muscle mass, which
Yeah.
you
So,
don't want to do. So, but in general, if you're exercising and you're losing weight, you can be pretty self-assured that your muscles are not
yeah,
fall-
got the
falling
exercise.
apart.
So, do you recommend that scale? Have you heard of it?
I mean, these scales are not perfectly accurate. You have
Oh,
to get, a more accurate scan of your muscle mass and your fat mass.
oh, okay.
That
So
kind of
just
thing.
exercise.
But in general, if you're exercising and
Yeah.
at your ideal weight, it's highly likely that it's because of fat loss and your muscle mass is not. And also you can tell when your muscles are decreasing in size. It's not, it's something
I know.
you're aware of.
I know. You can't move as well. And then when you get older,
Well, when you get older, you need to make sure your muscles are moving and healthy because as you age, the muscles get replaced with fat.
I know that.
When you take a biopsy of a muscle, there's much
Mhm.
more fat in it than there is when you're younger.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So you do your best. You exercise it.
as you age, you've got to exercise, and balance is another thing. I mean, people
Yes.
fall in their 70s and 80s, and a
Yeah.
lot of it is not because broke a bone, but because of balance issues. You have to do balance exercises.
Okay.
As you age, you have to do more and more than you ever did,
More, not less.
not less. Every year, you have to do more and more and more.
And not only more, you have to. A lot of people. Here's a problem that I see out there. There are 3 types of exercises: cardio, weight, and core. And you have to do all those 3. You follow me?
100%. 100%. I mean,
If you don't do the one or the other, let's say you don't do core, I see a lot of people who don't do core exercises. There are problems with balance, problems with falling down, a lot of problems like that, back problems,
yeah.
and so on. So you need all of those 3,
Yeah, unfortunately, as you age, your body loses the backup systems that keep it in its ideal, I'll say, shape or form.
Mhm.
And you have to willfully, with your intellect, intervene a lot more than you did when you're younger. For example, when you're a teenager, you can throw all sorts of garbage into your body and you're fine. You do that when you're 75 or 80, and the body has lost the backup systems to compensate for what you did, and you end up paying for it.
Yeah.
It's just the way our bodies are constructed.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because it's harder for people as they get older to want to initiate the effort to do it. So it's a catch-22.
Yeah,
But that's the human condition.
that's true.
In general, people, as Dr. Nobakht was alluding to, need to take the responsibility to look after their bodies. I mean, most people look after their cars better than they look after their body. But your body's a machine, and it needs to be looked after like you look after everything else in your life.
Amen. Can I ask a quick question?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, good. I was hoping I unmuted correctly here. Sounds like I'm doing a lot of the right things. I have CKD stage 3B. I've got some cardiovascular, or excuse me, blocked arteries. Yay. I'm pre-diabetic, but Just 5.7. Anyway, so I'm dealing with a lot of stuff, but I've learned how to really cook and exercise and lose the weight and do all those things. But there's still little tweaks here. You know, I'm staying very steady with everything, cholesterol way down. But I just am wondering if there's more I could do to, you know, for longevity, keep it at that stage 3B with the kidney disease. And one of the things I always get confused about is the protein intake. I know it needs to be very low. I keep it really low. I do more plant-based, but do I need to be looking at, should I do that correct amount like daily, or can it be like on an average of a week?
It's an average, and also
Okay.
the data isn't there. I mean, it's not quite clear at what CKD stage, how much protein, plant versus animal, you should take. And there's also issues of the protein affecting your muscle mass.
Yeah.
It doesn't just affect, you know, the kidney longevity. When you restrict protein, you're restricting protein from other metabolic pathways and other things in the body. So we're not isolating the restriction to the kidney. The whole body sees that decreased protein. And the question is what that's doing to, you know, your heart needs protein to function, your brain. So all these questions are very complicated because we can't partition. It would be very nice to keep the protein at a certain level for the kidney, but keep it at another level for the rest of the body. And we can't do that. So all these answers and questions and the so-called rules that you get from doctors are overly simplistic. Every organ has its own requirements for everything. And unfortunately, when you put something in your mouth, it's distributed everywhere. Or conversely, when you don't put something in your mouth, everything sees that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a very complicated question you're asking.
Okay.
Without good data. But it sounds like for at least the global macro things, you're doing everything correctly. We don't have magic pills out there that can make changes like we possibly will in the future.
Yeah. I found that using an app that actually I started using years ago for weight loss really helps out with a lot of the stuff, because I can track how much potassium and protein and sodium and, you know, all the different things that affect every little crummy thing that's going on. But it helps, and it makes me accountable too.
It sounds like you're doing the right thing, but it's really, your question's a good one. Is it daily changes or average changes? Again, there's not good experiments
Right.
answering that, but I would say in general, if you're the average of what you're doing is in the ballpark, I mean that's sounds to me like the way to go.
Okay. And one last silly question. I heard the coffee question come up. I had originally been told really shouldn't do anything with caffeine. And then somebody said, yeah, maybe a cup a day is probably okay. I mean, if I'm doing a lot of liquid intake, does it really matter if I then am urinating even more because of the caffeine, or is that actually a good thing?
No one has really done studies that I know at every CKD stage as to how much caffeine you should be taking in. And so I think if you're taking a cup or two or even 3 a day, it's likely perfectly fine. The data is just not there to know.
Okay.
It's important to think of the effect, as Dr. Nobakht was talking about, on sleep, that if you really are affecting your sleep, that could have effects on your heart and your general well-being and other things. So you don't want to take so much caffeine that you're not getting a good night's sleep. So that would be the one thing I would be careful about. But the fact that it increases your EGFR and you urinate more, I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Okay, everyone. Well, the hour's late, and I think
yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you the next time. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.